Thanks to Almighty Allah. We glorify His name. We ask for Allah's mercies and blessings upon the noble Prophet Muhammad, his household, and his companions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us beneficial knowledge and to benefit us with what we learn. We ask Allah to accept our fasting, to accept our acts of ibadah. Ameen. Today, inshallah, we have our Imams on the call. So I'll only be relating what I have learned from them, what I have recorded from them so far regarding the lessons they have taught us about Ramadan, inshallah. So the topic says the essence of Ramadan and how we prepare for it. Well, the month has started already. If one is unprepared as of now, it's late, but better late than never. I would like to focus on the essence of Ramadan, what Ramadan brings to us, and how we should receive Ramadan. Ramadan is one of those special situations in our lives that require preparation, that requires every bit that we can put into preparing for it and receiving it like the best thing that has happened to us, like a best visitor or a great guest that is coming to us. Is the way we receive Ramadan. We receive it with preparedness. We receive it with honor and everything that is great because of the greatness that it brings and what we hope to get from it. So what does Ramadan itself bring? What is Ramadan? What does it do to us? Ramadan is a month. What is great about the month is the fasting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained in it. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 183, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu, kutiba alaykum as-siyam, kama kutiba ala allazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who have believed, we have ordained upon you fasting, like we ordained it upon those before you, that you may attain piety. This verse clearly states that the objective of fasting is to attain piety. So that must mean that attaining piety is important if we have to fast to attain piety. So what is piety in and of itself? Piety is a state of being religious. Piety is a state of awareness, being aware of Allah. That is piety. Now, being aware and cognizant of Allah, His powers, His laws, His rules, His likes and His dislikes, what He forbids, what He commands, that is being aware of Allah. And obeying all of His commands and moving away from everything that He has forbidden, that is the awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, why do we need to fast to attain awareness of Allah? Isn't it supposed to be as simple as just knowing that there is Allah and He has said do this and we do it, and He has said don't do this and we don't do it? Shouldn't that suffice if that is the meaning of piety? Well, indeed, it should be as simple as that, but it is not. It is not because of a lot of factors. It is not because there's a lot of things that work against us that does not allow us to go in a straight line towards this goal of attaining piety. It should be as simple as just knowing what Allah wants and doing it, and knowing what He doesn't want and not doing it. But we find that in our ordinary lives, we're not able to achieve this. We might be able to follow some of the rules, but we find ourselves lacking in some other rules. And the reason for that is, again, because the world that we live in, it's tilted against us. There are many creations of Allah besides us. And amongst them is a very powerful enemy that seeks to derail all of our efforts to attain this piety. Attaining piety keeps us close to Allah, keeps us connected to Allah. And then we have this one enemy whose only duty is to disconnect us from Allah. So he fights against all of our efforts. It doesn't allow us to go in a straight line. Everything else works against us. From amongst Allah's creation, we have the ones that He created only to worship Him. Every creation of Allah is created to worship Allah. But He created the angels solely for worship, so much so that they don't do anything else but worship Allah day and night. They don't sleep. They don't eat. They don't drink. They don't have wives. They don't marry. They just worship Allah all the days of their lives from day one to the day that they die. And then you have animals. They have no obligations to worship Allah. They are not going to give any account. They are created to live, eat, be eaten, and die. And then you have humans and jinns. We are created to worship Allah also. But we're also given something that sometimes we mistake for opportunity, when indeed it is the one thing that works against us the most: free will. The free will that we have is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see who is going to use it for Allah, who is going to use it to accomplish what you have been created for. Had we not been given that free will, we would have been the same as the angels. They don't have any free will. They are created, whether they like or not, to worship Allah. They don't have a choice. We were given a choice. That choice is a test for us. Now, having that choice, also knowing that our heart, where our choices reside, where we make our decisions, it usually works against us because it wants everything that is good, everything that is sweet, even if everything that is sweet is not necessarily good for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna nafsa la amaratun bisu. The heart, the soul commands you to do wrongful things. The soul would move you towards wrongful things unless you get a hold of it. And it is so powerful because it resides inside you. It's not something you can see. And if you lose control of it, it will guide you only towards that which is not good for you because it wants everything. It wants to enjoy everything. And how do you gain the power to control the soul? It is by fasting. That is why Allah gave us fasting as a tool to use to control our soul that would ordinarily move us towards that which is not good for us. It is the tool that we use to control ourselves and to keep ourselves grounded and tethered so that we can focus on the main goal of our creation, which is worship of Allah. Fasting is like what keeps everything else around you quiet so that you can focus on what is necessary for you. All the while, everything everywhere is noisy. When you look to the right, it's noisy. When you look to the left, it's noisy. It's so hard to focus on anything when what we should be focusing on is worship. So with all this noise around us, there's no way. But fasting, in the month of fasting, everything is shut down. The volume is reduced around you. The only volume that you can hear is the volume of worship, which is the main essence of your creation. So we'll talk about some of the things that fasting does for us. Fasting is what gives this month of Ramadan its greatness. The month is just another month, like any other month in the year. But with fasting in it, it becomes better than thousands of months. So, number one, of the essence of fasting, one of the things that fasting brings to us is that fasting prepares the mind, that soul of ours that would ordinarily move us towards fasting. It prepares it for the fear of Allah. It teaches our mind, it teaches our soul what it means to fear Allah. You see, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an hadith al-Quds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصوم فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. That everything that the son of Adam does is for him. He does it for himself. He does it for himself because everything that a person does as acts of worship, every single act of worship besides fasting, can either be nullified or be accepted. You never even know whether it's accepted or nullified because there are two things that nullifies one's work. Number one is what we call ariyah. Number two is what we call as-sum'ah. The ariyah and sum'ah, they are close together. Ariyah is when you perform an action. It is supposed to be for the sake of Allah. But deep inside you, your niyyah, your intention is for people to see. That is riyah. You are doing it to show off. That one, you are intentionally doing it to show off at the time of performing that action. You see, as-sum'ah is even dangerous. at the time of performing the action, your intention is to do it for the sake of Allah. You didn't intend for people to see you or to reward you for it. But after you have performed the action for the sake of Allah, you now mention it to somebody so that you can gain reputation with it, or so that you can gain recognition with it. At the time of performing it, you never intended to gain recognition for it. It's like doing something and then you tell somebody, when you were doing that thing, you didn't intend to tell anyone about it. But maybe, you know, when you were waking up in the middle of the night, that's a good deed. And you're doing it for the sake of Allah when you woke up in the middle of the night. But the day you say it to someone, that is sum'ah. The day you say it out to someone to be recognized for it, or to notify them of that thing that you did for Allah, for the sake of Allah, it becomes sum'ah, and that takes away all the rewards. Even though at the time of doing it, you intended it for Allah. These two things, all other acts of worship are at risk of riya or sum'ah. Illa som, except fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِنَّ أُولِي. If a person is fasting, they are surely, especially if the person is doing it right, they are surely doing it for Allah. Clearly, you are doing it for Allah. Because, and it is also a way that you take control of your soul. Normally, our soul wants everything, like I said earlier. It sees food, it wants to eat, even when it is not hungry. It wants to eat. It sees money, it wants to take, even when it has enough. It sees anything, it wants more of it, even when it has enough. Our soul easily forgets about death, or that is going to leave everything. If not, why do we see all these things happening in the world today? Where you know that people forget that they're going to die, or that the power that they have is transient. When everyone else around you knows that you're going to leave office, you are the only one that seems you do not know that you're going to leave office. That is the power of your soul. But in Ramadan, you're able to take hold of your soul. That soul that wants to eat every time. Suddenly in Ramadan, you are able to tell it, no, we are not eating until sundown. That soul that wants to hurt other people, that wants to take what belongs to other people and add it to your own, you are able to hold it back in Ramadan. No, I'm not going to do it for fear of Allah. You are able to exercise the fear of Allah because of the fasting. That is one of the things that fasting has come to teach you. It has come to show you, first of all, give you the power over yourself, the power you didn't have before, over yourself, to control yourself and take hold and take charge. Don't let your soul move you around or push you around. And then it also shows you that you have that power, because that power has been inside you all the while. You never really exercised it because you didn't even know that you could stay hungry. Some of us have not fasted one single day since the last Ramadan. But then, because you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like you can do it. Some of us start fasting in the morning, and before noon we go and get something to eat. It's nafila. I can break it anytime, because you don't feel like you can take it all the way to the sundown. But in Ramadan, you're able to do it. It shows you that you can do it. So that is one thing that it does. Number two, what does fasting also do? They said one of the greatest things, like I said earlier, one of the things that is a disadvantage to humans that we feel is an advantage is our free will that we have. That free will brings about desire. And it is said that every single sin that a person commits has an element of desire underpinning it. It is the desire that humans have that leads us to commit every single sin that we commit. Think about it. Any sin. Think about any sin. It is desire. Somebody that commits zina, it is desire that makes them commit it. Someone that steals someone else's money, it is desire that makes them steal the person's money, because they desire to have that person's money to add it to their own. Shaitan, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded all the angels to bow to Adam, when he refused, it was desire, the desire to be recognized as better than Adam. The same thing happens to us humans. It is desire that makes us disobey Allah. It is desire that makes you ignore salat, because you desire something else with your time. You want to use your time for something else. It is desire that is underpinning every single act of disobedience, every act of sin that we commit. But fasting has come to put a chain around the neck of our desires. We're able to quiet down our desire in the month of fasting. Fasting, like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam described it, it's a protector for the mind. It quietens the mind. The mind that will be speaking to you every time, it suddenly calm. Even you know that you have calmed down a little bit just this one day. By the time we get to day 10 and more, we begin to calm down more. You jump around less. You don't go everywhere. You go just to where it's necessary so that you don't lose your little energy that you have. So it quietens down your whole body and reduces your level of desire. You don't want a lot of things. You see food, you don't want to eat it. You don't desire food that much anymore. You don't desire to drink. You just want to wait from the morning till sundown. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said to the people to get married early in their youthful ages, when some people had excuses about why they don't want to get married or why they cannot get married early or yet, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Waman lam yastati." In case you have an excuse, tenable excuse to not get married early. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. Any one of you that is unable to get married, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. The person should fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاءٌ. Because fasting would be a steader. Fasting will be what will keep you grounded, to not listen to your desire that might move you towards zina. Because if you're not getting married and you are human, desire will rile up inside you. What will cage that desire? It is fasting. So fasting is a tool that we use to cage our desire. Innate desires can be sexual desires. It can be desire for wealth. It can be desire for anything. Anything that makes us go out of our way, that makes us to commit sins, we are able to cage it with fasting. Because again, with fasting, our soul, our minds quiet down and we're able to focus on what is necessary. Number 3 of what fasting, of the essence of fasting and the importance of it and what it brings to us, is that fasting helps us to attain a level of sympathy and empathy and care for ourselves and love for ourselves. Because sometimes we don't truly understand or we tend to forget. Because again, we're humans and we forget a lot of things. That is how our name is derived as Anas, Al-Insan. We're forgetful. We are the ones that forgot that there is one God that created us. We are the ones that forget easily that death is ordained upon everyone and everyone will die. In the moment you are forgetting that you are going to die, you are living like you are never going to die because we are forgetful. So we forget. And every year, Ramadan will come and then we will fast and we will be reminded of what it feels to be hungry. And we will be reminded of how hunger feels to those who are hungry. And it helps us to relate with their hunger and it helps us to want to help them. And so there can be no believer, no Muslim in the entire world that observes fasting the way that it is ordained on all Muslims to fast that does not have empathy for the poor. There can be no such Muslim because every Ramadan, every single Muslim that fasts the way that he is supposed to fast would understand the essence of hunger. Every Muslim will know what hunger seems like, no matter how rich you are. If you fast the way it is ordained, you will understand what hunger is. And then when you understand what hunger is, you can understand when someone says they are hungry. You can understand how it feels and you can relate with that and you can easily help them. And so Allah described us, Muslims, as we are, because of what He has given us, because of what He knows about us, that we have this due to fasting that He has ordained upon us. That when we fast, we begin to have empathy. We develop empathy for other people who, hitherto, we will not understand what they were going through. Allah said, رُؤَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ رُؤَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Amongst ourselves, we care for ourselves. We're able to care for ourselves because of the empathy that we have developed by virtue of the fasting that we engage in every year. Number 4, fasting is also the very essence of closing the gap or of creating equality between the rich and the poor. It is the actual time where the rich equals the poor. It's not by clothing. People say when we go to Hajj and everyone is dressed in white clothing, it shows that we're all the same. Oh, even white clothing would have different grades. White clothing, that white cloak that we put on, it has different grades. A rich man can afford one that is costlier. When you see the quality, you can tell that this one is richer than this other person. But with fasting, we are all the same. Everybody will feel the pangs of hunger the same way, rich or poor. So fasting is the actual equity or equality. It is the true line of equality between the rich and the poor. It brings us to the same level, every single one of us. And we will feel the pain from the same time to the same time. The rich will not break their own fast in the middle of the day, while the poor fast until the night. No, we will begin the fasting at the same time, no matter your status, no matter how rich you are. So it actually brings everyone to the same level and no difference between us. Number 5, fasting teaches us what a day in the life of a Muslim should be like. Fasting shows you how your day should actually look outside of the month of Ramadan. Think about your day today. When you woke up this morning, what was the first thing you did? Some of us, normally in our daily lives, we forget to pray Fajr. But during the month of Ramadan, it becomes easy for you to pray Fajr. Some of us, in the course of our days outside of Ramadan, the masjid seems too far. In Ramadan, suddenly it's not that far. We're able to go to the masjid, pray Maghrib, stay there for Isha, pray Isha, and wait till late in the night before we go to our home. Suddenly it's not so bad. It shows us that that is how it should also be outside of Ramadan. If it's not so bad during Ramadan, then it's not so bad after Ramadan. Especially, it shows us how to live our lives during the daytime, from sunrise to sunsets. How you live your life now, between the time of sunrise and sunset, will guide you as a template of how you should live your life after Ramadan, from sunlight, from sunup to sundown. So Ramadan has come to teach us how to live during the daytime. And all of these 5 benefits that I have counted for Ramadan, they are spiritual benefits of Ramadan. Ramadan, or fasting, also has physical benefits also, like how, it can help you to build your physique. Some people want to lose belly fat, and fasting would help them to do that. Some people have tried, but because it was not compulsory outside of Ramadan, and now that it's compulsory, they can compulsorily do it for 30 days, reap the benefits that is spiritual, and also reap the physical benefit at the same time. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that essence. However, there's a condition to the physical benefits of it, as there's a condition to the spiritual benefit of it also. What is the condition? The condition for the physical benefits of fasting is that one should also watch what one eats, unless the purpose will be defeated. If you are the person that during iftar, you want to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time, and then your belly is too full, it is now you are going to cause disease to yourself, because now you are even overloading your digestive system. You have to be cognizant of eating healthy. You have to still follow all those rules. Eat healthy, eat little, drink a lot of liquid. All this healthy eating habits has to be followed and adhered to. It shouldn't be an excuse that because you have not eaten since morning, now you have to augment all of those meals that you have skipped and eat everything at iftar. Now you want to eat banana and apple and rice and beans and bread and everything during iftar because you're going to fast again tomorrow. No, don't do that. Stay healthy, eat healthy, and again, that will help you to reap the benefits of the physical benefits of fasting. As for the spiritual benefit of fasting, all those benefits that we have recounted for fasting, they also have a condition that you have to fulfill. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and because we have said that fasting will help you to attain consciousness of Allah. Fasting will help you to attain the fear of Allah, to understand how to fear of Allah, to master fearing Allah, and taking control of your souls, guiding your souls to the direction that it should go to, which is the worship of Allah, rather than allowing yourselves to be guided by your souls. When indeed we know that inna nafsa la ammaratun bisu. So to be able to do all these things, to grab that power, to be able to do that, because again, the external factor that we mentioned earlier, that's enemy of ours, shaitan. The Prophet ﷺ has said that he has been chained. So it's not a factor here for the most part. So the factor is now your soul itself that we have to take control of. So for you to be able to attain this, you have to fast imanan wa ihtisaban. You have to fast with faith, full faith in Allah. You have to do it sincerely for the sake of Allah. It is not the one that in the front of all your family, you wake up in the middle of the night. You do not feel like everyone else. You eat sahur like everyone else. And then when you go to the office, you go and drink water. You go to lunch with your colleagues. Or when you go to school, you go and drink water in the cafeteria where nobody is watching. If nobody is watching, Allah is watching. And that is part of the consciousness of Allah that you are supposed to be getting in Ramadan. Keeping in mind that Allah is watching and doing everything you are doing in recognition of the fact that if nobody can see me, Allah can see me. That is the essence why Allah says it's the one that will reward fasting, because no one can see or tell whether you are fasting. It is only Allah that can tell that you are fasting. And even at that, you keep fasting. When you know that nobody can see you for it. If you tell somebody that you are fasting, you just say, okay, I've heard you, but I don't believe you. I can't believe you. And there's no way you can prove it. You go explain, Taya. How can you prove that you are fasting? How do I know that you have not eaten something somewhere? But you just come and tell me that you're fasting. The only one that can believe that you are fasting is the only one that knows, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're fasting truly for the sake of Allah, then you're doing it only for Allah. That is you doing it with full sincerity. And you will only reap the benefits that we have recounted, the spiritual benefits, when you do it with full sincerity. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said that in this month of Ramadan, man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. Whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan in faith and expecting their reward only from Allah. They are not fasting because somebody told them that if you fast, I will feed you. I'll feed you for myself, not fasting, or fast for my sake, or fast so I'll give you money, or fast so that I can get some benefit from you, or some promotion, or some position. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive the person's sins that they have committed in the past. So these are benefits of fasting, and these are also the conditions for reaping these benefits. Now, one of the things that we also forget, besides all this big picture, are the smaller pictures, the smaller things, because smaller things tend to pile up and become big things. What are the smaller things that we should be cognizant of? These are the other things that are also part of the conditions of fasting that we need to be careful about. Fasting, truly, in the bigger picture, is holding back from eating, drinking, or anything that can break the fast. Eating, drinking, or anything that can break the fast. We do well with the eating and drinking, but anything that can break the fast, we don't do so well with that because we don't understand it, because it's vague. Well, let's break it down. In fasting, we have to watch our tongue also. Our tongue also needs to fast. If you are fasting and your tongue is not fasting, you have not fasted. How does the tongue fast? The tongue should fast by steering clear of lying. The tongue should fast by steering clear of slander. The tongue should fast by steering clear of gossip. The tongue should fast by steering clear of saying things that are bad. Allah said, Kulu qawlan sadida. Kulu qawlan sadida. The Prophet Muhammad, Allah said, say good things. Say good things with your mouth. Your tongue should only say good things. If you don't have anything good to say, the Prophet Muhammad said, in fasting, keeping quiet when you don't have something good to say is part of fasting. If you say something that is bad with your mouth, even though you have not eaten or you didn't drink anything, you have broken your fast. And this is a mistake that a lot of people do. You are still gossiping and you think you are fasting. No, you are not. You are slandering people. You're talking about someone behind their back, about something that is not true. And you think that you are fasting. Part of the things that we have to also watch, the eyes. The eyes cannot look at that which is forbidden. Gaddul basar, the eyes should also fast. If you are fasting and you are staying hungry and thirsty and your eyes are not fasting, you are not fasting. You can't be fasting and be looking at things that are forbidden with your eyes, physically or on the TV or on the phone. These are things that you stay clear of. If you have to look at something on your phone, look at lectures, look at admonitions. If you have to watch something on TV, don't go and watch movies where you know that some sins can suddenly come up. If you watch those ones, you are no longer fasting. And there can be no excuse because you know that it can tend towards that angle, but you watched it anyways. That breaks your fast. Anything that is forbidden, we stay clear of it. You can't be fasting and be stealing people's money. You can't be fasting and be cheating people. All of these things also come together. They are the little things. When we focus on just eating and drinking, those are not the only things that will break your fast. These other little things can also break one's fast. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man lam yada' qawl az-zur wal 'amal bihi, falaysa lillahi haja fi an yada'a ta'amahu wa sharabahu min ajli." That whoever cannot leave bad talk, gossip, slander, lies, wal 'amal bihi, or they cannot leave bad actions, forbidden actions, stealing, embezzlement, corruption, bad actions. فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِ. Allah does not need that person to leave their food and their drinks. Go ahead and drink. Go ahead and eat. If you cannot leave all these other little things for the sake of Allah. Allah is not only asking you to not eat or drink, asking you to avoid everything that is forbidden. Your eyes, your mouth, your tongue, your ears, your legs, your hands, they all should fast. May Allah make it easy for each and every one of us. I will stop here in the interest of time, so that we can have some time for questions and announcements. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakumullah khairan. Imam Abdulazeez, we ask Allah to reward you abundantly for this. Now, so if we have any question, please feel free and ask. So Imam Abdulazeez, I have a question. So if you could come up mute. Now, when it comes to Ramadan, I know we always have a lot of plannings to do. As you said, in terms of our preparedness, sometimes the way we prepare is not really good enough. And, you know, we tend to lose track in terms of making sure that we focus on this month of Ramadan and some of the benefits that we can attain. You know, as we know, Ramadan is a moving train, so we have to take full advantage of the month. So my question is this: how can we prepare for SMART goals? And we always talk about SMART goals in business settings. How can that be applied to when it comes to Ramadan? So, what are some of, the SMART goals that we can create for ourselves that are basically achievable?
Now, Jazakumullah khairan. And like I said earlier, our imams are here, and today I'm just repeating everything that I've noted from the imams, especially smart goals from Imam Agbola, where he has talked about smart goals in the past. Like every other thing in our lives, goals need to be set. Ramadan is a moving train, like you said. It will come and it will go. There's only so much we can do while it is here with us, because no one is promised the next Ramadan. The best we can get from this, we should get the best, or the best we can get out of it. So what are the things that we're supposed to be doing to gain the best? We've talked about the benefits that Ramadan tends for us, but how can we harvest all of these benefits? What are the things that we need to do? First of all, in the month of Ramadan, this is the month where we should be most prayerful. We know that it is the month where we should be where we should increase our acts of worship. So I'm writing it down myself. So prayer, worship. We also know that this is the month where we should be the most in charity. So I'm putting that also down for charity. We also know that this month is the month where we should read more of the Quran, relate with it, and think about it, and ponder the words of Allah and understand it. So the Quran recitation. And all of this are going to be in tandem with everything else that we have going on in our lives. We have work, we still have obligations, you have to put food on the table. I mean, it's the month of Ramadan, you're not going to go take 30 days of vacation at work because of Ramadan. I mean, if you can, by all means, please. But if you cannot, like many of us cannot, and you have to achieve this goal so that you can harness the best of Ramadan and gain all of what is promised in it. How do you now plan for all of this? Well, the first thing is plan what your day, first write out what your day looks like within yourself. If you're not a writer, then just think about what your day looks like. What is your normal day? Your other obligations like your work, what does it look like? What time do you have to leave home, work? What is your travel time? What time do you get to the office? What is your lunch time at office? Or what other break opportunity do you have at work? What can you do within those times? Do you have a space for prayer at work? How many minutes do you have reserved for prayer at work? During your time at work, how much time after prayer can you spend to read the Quran? How many times in a day can you have some time to read the Quran? Some of us will get back from work and it's already time for Maghrib, and they have spent the whole day at work. So if your whole day is spent at work, how do you gain extra time during work time to do some of these extra things? You don't have to do a lot of it. A little part of it is doing something also. So, but the most importantly, that you want to plan your day around, not plan around your day, is your salat. You want to plan your day around salat rather than plan salat around your day. So that means that, first of all, you need to note what are the times of salat for the day. This one should be independent of what time you go to work or anything. First, write out the time for salat, then plan your day around that. So mostly for most people, Zuhur and Asr will occur while you are at work. So what provisions can you make to fulfill your obligations during those times? Do you have a prayer space yet at your office? If you don't, can you make preparations? Can you link up with other Muslims? Maybe you are the one that does not know that they have a place that they pray. Find another Muslim within your organization and ask them, how do they pray or where do they pray? You will be surprised to know probably they have some way that they are gathering or that they pray independently. Especially if you have someone who is a Muslim, who is one of the higher ups, you can easily approach them and ask them about Salat. If there is no organization of Salat yet, a person who is higher up might not be, obligated to make moves about it until they see that maybe there are people who are interested in doing this. Then maybe they can move it at some of their meetings up there, or they can tell you where or how you can do it. You want to plan your day around your salat in that manner by finding, if you're spending your time at work and Zuhur and Asr is going to be there, find a way to pray Zuhur and Asr at work. If possible, also get a few minutes and read at least a page of the Quran or part of a page of the Quran while you are there. And every single day, map out time to read part of a page or at least a page of the Quran. For those who have the ability to do more than that, do more than that. And then for charity, you want to make sure that you're contributing something, giving something. Because remember, part of what fasting has come to teach you is empathy, empathizing, connecting with other people's pain and hunger. You know more now than you did before about pain, about hunger, about what those who do not have as much as you do what they have. You also know that this is the month where we get double of the reward for everything that we do. So when you give in charity, you're getting double the reward in the month of Ramadan. When you give in charity, you're also showing the essence of Ramadan, reflecting in your actions already. And then prayer. Pray to Allah. Take the opportunity that this holy month has brought to you. This month, everything is holy, and it reflects in the solemnity that you see around you. This is a time for praying and asking Allah for what we want. So take it. Do not keep quiet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Udu'uni astajib lakum. Call on me, ask me, and I will answer you. In fact, Allah does not like it when you don't ask him for something. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ask Allah for anything, even as little as the as what you use to tie your shoe, the lace that you use to tie your shoes. Anything. Don't think that you can do anything yourself, because la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We ask Allah for anything. And then we take opportunity of this month to ask Allah. So we're more prayerful in this month. We worship Allah by observing all of our salats on time. We map out time for that. We map our day around salat especially. We give more in charity, and we make sure that every single day in this month of Ramadan, the goal is at least a page of the Quran. And if you're not capable to do that, at least some parts of a page of the Quran. And if you're capable to do more than that, do it and expect that reward will come from Allah. This is what we do to harness the benefits of Ramadan. And this are from my notes from previous lectures from Alhaji Abdullah. I know most of us also have things.
Now, Jazakallah khairan for the full detailed answer that you've provided us. So this will now conclude our first day lecture with Imam Abdulazeez Alugo. So we're going to call on to Imam Nuruddin Ali to pray for our brother Imam Abdulazeez.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity that He has given us to listen to His words. I know spending time to listen is a lecture. To any lecture at this special time, it is more meritorious for us, and it makes our of each and every one who is able to participate in listening to the lecture, and those who wish to have been one of those who listen to the lecture. So we thank our Imam Abdulazeez Alugo for a very beautiful opening that he has given us today, because his lecture is the opening lecture to this year's Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you abundantly. We pray to Almighty Allah to accept it as an act of worship from you, inshallah. So we thank everyone also for being attentive to this lecture. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.